Hello and welcome to episode 2 of The Rise of the Martins. We will be continuing the reign of Louis of Francia, which we started last episode. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. And thank you to those who've been tuning in and keeping up with the series. I also have some upcoming plans for the channel, and at the end of this video, I will go into the beginning of the small project that's based off of this series. Anyway, let's jump straight into where we left off. Louis proved himself a competent king, successfully establishing the Martins as the new rulers of this realm. After 30 years of stable rule, Louis was able to legitimately declare himself Emperor of Francia. On the 13th of September, 896, Louis was crowned as the new Frankish Emperor. The days of the Carlings are closing, as there arises a new order. In the last episode, we established the Empire Francia with these beautiful borders right here. We might even be able to establish the Holy Roman Empire, but we'll see. So ethnicities and portraits expanded got an update, so I'm pretty sure that's what caused the change in hairstyle and clothes. Things do look different from last episode. As for what's going on around the realm, Al-Andalus has dissolved, the Carlings still hold on to Burgundy and Italy. Duke Lambert became a conqueror and took the Kingdom of Croatia. And we've been exchanging love letters with Queen Gertrude of Bavaria, who's married to her uncle. It looks like this marriage is going to unify the realms when it gets passed on to Prince Arnulf. He's also the great-grandson of King Carlman, who conquered Bohemia in last episode. The sons of King Alfred are fighting off the Norse invaders, but also the King of Alba became a conqueror and is right next to another conqueror. And as Louis, I think it's time to unite West Francia. As the king of the thrones of West Francia and Aquitaine, Emperor Louis has decided it is time to rule them both from Paris. No longer shall his vassals be seen as two people ruled by one king, but rather as the people of one kingdom. This interesting-looking man, who seems to be sporting my hairstyle, would make a good accolade. This will increase the size of pike regiments, which we should create, and increase levy reinforcement rate. As the sun sets, I can't help but notice that my wife, Empress Hildegard, is yet again absent from our chambers. She had been so present and attentive in the past, but now she seems so far away, lost in a world of thoughts I can't understand. She was rarely seen at court this week, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease and tension in the air. Am I not good enough for her? Is she just busy and overly distracted? Or could she be slipping away from me, into someone else's heart? I mean, I don't know, man, that's pretty hypocritical. I mean, you are in love with another woman currently. And last episode you did reject her when she asked you to come to bed, so... You know, just to be sure, let's start finding secrets. This will also reveal other stuff that's going on. Count Fouché and his wife approach cautiously, wary of the assembled court. My lord, I am sure someone in the Empire is trying to harm my wife. I have no evidence, but suspect Countess Adelaide, given her reputation for villainy. I beg you, imprison Adelaide, and put a stop to this madness. I don't think I will. Greetings, my amicable liege. Despite our best efforts, my agents have yet to uncover any secrets here at the court. However, I still believe there's something going on in the shadows. I only need a little more time to determine what that is. Alright, yeah, let's try and find whatever that is. We can now pick up whole of body, which should boost our health. My twin sons are looking pretty stylish, especially Antoninus. Long after most have gone to sleep for the night, I still find myself seated by the campfire. What's wrong, Hildegard asks as she sits down next to me, with this concerned expression on her face. At first, I don't know what to say, but as I start talking, it just comes out naturally. All my stress, my worries, my day-to-day issues. I just keep thinking about the time when a peasant revolt led by Rimbaud rose up against me. I can't help but wonder if I should have done things differently. I think this is time to heal my relationship with my wife. My caravan leader, Benoit, approaches me with a grim look on his face. I'm sad to report we didn't make it in time, my emperor. The activity started today, and we are simply not there for it. If only someone could have done a little bit better. Okay, let's not waste any more time discovering secrets. That's interesting. Literally nothing is going on in the court. No schemes, no secrets, except mine, of course. This gives us a significant boost to learning lifestyle experience. The one we got last episode I'm going to replace with this new one as it increases our monthly learning lifestyle experience. That's going to help me more than the other one is. Currently I'm trying to save money so I can create these kingdom titles and usurp the Kingdom of Burgundy. I'd like to take that title from you. Along with their strange goods, merchants bring tall tales from distant lands, unverifiable and full of wonder. A group of Cisalpine peddlers purport to have brought bodpa, objects, said to have come from the faraway court of a great ruler. I cannot even read that. Lodovico, the leading trader, grins darkly. I've seen your Martin Warhammer. Part with it, and I will give you this one-of-a-kind sword. If only I had some way to verify the hawker's story. Yeah, I'm not falling for your scam. We can ask the Pope for gold, and as you can see, he's actually been absorbed by King Lambert over here. And the first thing I'm going to do is take Burgundy. I'm also going to pass the limited crown authority law. I think I'm established enough to do so, and my vassals don't hate me that much, so. My daughter Sarah has just come of age. This is my daughter Sarah, the Honorable Coward. So as part of our breeding program, we're going to arrange a matrilineal marriage and pair her up with someone who has the best congenital trait that's available. This Anglo-Saxon man has Herculean. He'll also make a very good knight with 22 prowess. And my daughter finally gave me a grandchild. And for my other dynasty members, I'm going to let the game automatically choose their name. I'm okay with this. What are you doing? I asked Zadok. I found it hard to fall asleep tonight, perhaps because traveling has disturbed my body's normal routine. So I stepped out into the campfire. Zadok was awake as well, despite not having night watch duty at that moment, so I had sat down next to him. With a contemplative look on his face, Zadok points at the night sky and smiles. The stars. Sometimes I like to just stare at them. Magnificent, aren't they? I thank the Lord I can witness such wonders every day. I'm sure you recognize some of the constellations. Is that the constellation, the Bracelet of God? To the amicable Emperor Louis of Francia, my regrets that it has come to this. I know of your relationship with Queen Gertrude. If you wish for my silence, you will do as I say. All we did was exchange love letters. I guarantee you there's nothing going on here. Alright? How you discovered this, I don't know. This is Dorothy, the fearless absolver. So the best trait I could find from a different trait family was intelligent. This man has lower fertility from the chaste trait, so I'd rather marry her off to this guy. You see, their children would have a chance of inheriting from 2 different trait families instead of just 1. I find my daughter Stephanie sitting on the floor, surrounded by spilled paint and pieces of canvas, for the 3rd time this month. My courtiers whisper about her being an artistic genius in the making, but the servants complain about scrubbing the floors free of paint in the wake of her inspirations. You need to focus on useful studies, Stephanie. It's about time to marry off my heir. The best spouse I could find that is younger than him and has a good trait is this Saxon woman who has robust. And hopefully his heir, who we will eventually play as, inherits both these traits. If we can eventually get for one of our future heirs traits from all 3 families, and one of them is a max trait, we should be able to strengthen the bloodline, which grants benefits for the dynasty. That's part of the reason why I'm trying to diversify the traits that we have instead of strengthening traits from one family. And once many people in our dynasty have multiple congenital traits, with a little bit of inbreeding, we should be able to reinforce them. Okay, we can influence my 3rd son's personality. Just, cynical, or temperate. I think temperate is the best. Oh, my rival found the secret. To my liege, I know of your relationship with Queen Gertrude. Hey, it's not sexual, okay? If you wish for my silence, you will do as I say. No, I will not. No, I will not. Seaward, Sarah's husband would make a good accolade, especially with the increased armored footman. To the amicable Emperor Louis of Francia, I have been corresponding with your Chancellor, Zadok, and I must say that I have come to see you in a new light. Perhaps you are even someone that I one day would be proud to call my friend. My Chancellor and personal physician is doing some good work. The varied crowd of contestants mill around the butts, comparing bows and trading tales of their finest shots. The creak of bows and twang of strings carry far, punctuating the hubbub, a smell of resin wafting through the still air. My ears prick up as my name is mentioned, drifting across the gentle breeze. That could be a good sign or a bad one. I watched with a practiced eye as Gunther begins his approach towards the targets. The first shot flies true and thuds home. The second was more wayward, much more wayward. A shrill cry, an ungodly scream pierces the air. The second arrow had not just missed the target, but flown so far wide that it landed amidst a group of waiting competitors. Landed indeed in Beortzige. A crowd rounds on the stricken man. He is lying on his back, clutching his wound in vain effort to stop the blood. The arrow still embedded half a hand deep in his flesh. This is not my concern whatsoever. The banners flutter and roil around as I step up to take my shot, battered by the wind. Dust swirls past me as I knock an arrow to the bow, the sour wind making my eyes water. I wait for it to subside. I continue waiting. I don't think it's going to stop. Maybe if I shoot across the wind. Dusk begins to draw in slowly but steadily as the competition continues, the snapping of strings, a staccato rhythm. I lean on my bow, considering the path this contest has taken so far, such as when the wind began to blow strongly, forcing me to improvise. The competition begins to draw to a close as arrows continue to fly into and past the butts. If I am to make any impact on proceeds from here, I must act now. His learning should give him a significant bonus. With this wind, this trajectory should suffice. I step forward, knock, aim, draw, and loose. The arrow whistles through the air, thudding deep into the target. The crowd erupts. There can be no arguments. It is a huge point in my favor. I am winning. Victory is so close. Only a few more arrows are remaining for each competitor. The end is at hand. One last knock. And we did it. All right. Trumpets sound, the crowd clamors, competitors begin to assemble. The contest is over, and someone's moment in the sun is being readied. A herald steps forward, voice booming out across the scene. After many trials, some tribulations, and above all else, some truly spirited competition, we have our final three. In third place, the gutsy Lord Uroman, coming in a close second, Earl Beortsiege. That, of course, leaves us with our victor, Emperor Louis. I knew I could win. I've proven my worthiness beyond doubt. Instead of diligent, let's give Hans the generous trait. That should make him a more compliant vassal. Duke Wickman boldly steps forward and, without providing any context, proceeds in hushed tones. I would be willing to overlook my grievances if you were to revise my contractual obligation to the crown. Though rumored to be rallying my vassals to break away from Francia, surely this is a charge Wickman would never publicly admit to. Just for the sake of the realm, I will accept. We just got a granddaughter with 2 different types of congenital traits. The breeding program is working. My lover, Queen Gertrude, has revealed that I am seeing them in secret. With the truth spreading like wildfire, our passion may not have been as hidden as we would like to believe. Yeah, my wife does not approve of that, and I lost devotion. For many years, there have been rumors about a vast landmass to the west of Iceland. Still, no one has dared invest in any sort of risky adventure to ascertain whether such stories are true. Until now. News is traveling across the northern seas about an expedition sponsored by Jarl Uni to explore the seas west of Iceland and search for new lands. The expedition will be led by a certain adventurer by the name of Þjóstólfur. Okay, I don't know if I got that right. If these lands exist, and if they prove to have territory which could be settled, then there's no doubt that Uni will be among the first to establish his family's presence there by founding a settlement. Ooh, Elizabeth came of age. This is the best congenital trait I could find from a different trait family. This is Elizabeth, the cowardly zealot. The twists and turns of fate have not always been to my advantage. God knows that I was cursed the day I met King Engelbert. Today, however, that curse has been lifted. Fate has smiled upon me and brought that miserable bastard to his grave. Can my lover wants to marry someone from my court? Are you sure you want to get lover's pox? I mean, sure, we are lovers. I think you're trying to make me jealous or something. News is spreading like wildfire about the adventures of... Þjóstólfur, who just returned from a great trip to the west. Apparently he discovered a vast landmass to the west of Iceland, which he calls Greenland. Rumor has it Greenland is actually a desolate, cold land, and the name was chosen as a cunning ploy to attract settlers. Nonetheless, the entrepreneurial-minded have taken note of the fact that Greenland is home to large numbers of walrus, among other valuable luxury goods. Due to the rarity of ivory, there is no doubt that whoever controls the flow of trade in Greenland will reap great profit and influence. The intrepid settlers have started to make their way there to settle its distant shores. Although Greenland is too far away for us to meaningfully affect its affairs, its discovery and settlement could have a profound impact on the commercial, cultural, and political networks of the North Atlantic world, from Iceland to Greenland and possibly beyond. Ooh, that's a nice sound. And we can establish a European ivory carving center. I step up to the line, pulling an arrow from the barrel, and carefully draw my bow, peering down the shaft at the distant target. At the very moment I commit, loosening my grip, a figure suddenly emerges from behind the butt. The shot flies true, straight towards them. I swear, every archery tournament has some kind of accident like this. A gasp rises from the spectators, and after what seems an eternity, a form kneels over, groaning feebly. A valet soon confirms the worst. The peasant is quite dead. No points for that arrow. Bullseye! No. Let's not be so callous. The family will be cared for. And we won our second archery tournament. And our daughter just came of age. He will make a good husband for Clementia. This is my daughter Clementia, the dishonorable villain. A lot of my daughters are not the best people. My liege, have you heard what they call you? My court physician Zadok says to me, while nodding acknowledgingly. They call you Emperor Louis the Worthy. Spectacular, is it not? It's on the lips of peasant and noble alike. A cause for celebration, I think, Zadok exclaims with a cheery tone. Who judge you is a matter of debate, but all agree that you are truly a man of merit. China, that most august empire, has always been a source of rumors of dubious reliability. Lately, traveling merchants and adventurers relay stories about how the current empress of China is as powerful and fearsome as she is beautiful and charming. She has a strong grip over the emperor, and is the real authority behind everything, even if she only rules from the shadows. Louis is pretty modern. It's good to have a woman in power. And Hans came of age. My third son, Hans, the bold lackey. And at this moment, this Greek woman is literally the only one available for marriage. Of course, based on the parameters that I had set for our breeding program. I'm going to forbid members of my dynasty from being knights. It would be nice to have some dynasty members gain the glory of serving in my army. But for my breeding program, I don't want young men of my dynasty being killed in some battle. My spymaster has come to me with grave news. While we do not yet know who, someone is plotting to kill my daughter, Sarah. We have totally completed all of the learning lifestyles, and it's time to switch to stewardship. I'm going to do wealth focus for the extra income. My spymaster has come to me with grave news. He is certain that Magdalena, my own daughter, is scheming against my daughter, Sarah. I don't really want to lock them up. It's not going to work anyway. My heir's heir was just born, and luckily he did inherit beautiful, and he inherited Hale. That's good. He will be named Louis. I will make him my ward, and we'll do learning with him. We can get another accolade which will give us a bonus to our archer regiments. My son-in-law, Père Raymond, has accused my daughter Clementia of having had an affair with her lover, Count Eudes. I do not see what the fuss is about. It is not as if lust is an unnatural affliction. Oh, of course you say that. It's time to seek indulgences and lose the adulterer trait. It is commendable that you seek to atone for your sins. I accept your generous donation and send you my blessing in return. We can restore the Holy Roman Empire. I think it's time. For too long, the mantle of Roman Emperor in the West has gone unclaimed. Today, as I face Pope Callistus in the grandest church in all of Roma, surrounded by my vassals and clergy, that changes. We exchange prayers and benefactions by rote, asking God to bless me with the strength and mercy to rule my empire according to his will. Solemnly, Pope Callistus gifts me with crown and sword, and charges me with the care of all Christendom. Silence followed by a surge of soaring hymns, drowned out only by the furious cheers of my nobles. At last, I am the Holy Roman Emperor, from Augustus to Charlemagne to Louis. And on the 12th of August, 909, Pope Callistus crowned Louis the Emperor of the Romans. Let's go. That's awesome. That's an ugly color, though. We gotta change that. That is a nice blue. There's no reason to have this succession law, so I'm going to remove it. We can also vassalize Jarl Olafur. Emperor Louis the Great, your achievements are legendary. Commoners sing songs of your deeds, and the nobility grumble about unfair expectations. Clementia the Adulterer is a figure of disdain at court, haunted by social ostracism and the butt of many a sordid joke. My failure to condemn, and continued proximity to, this unfaithful wretch is perceived as open tolerance, tarnishing my court's reputation in the eyes of the clergy and faithful. They have forced my hand, and I must now decide whether my daughter's crimes outweigh my affections for her. Surely something must be done, even if she is a Martin. No, family comes first, and my youngest child has finally come of age. My youngest child, Stephanie the Bold Ravener. You can marry this Herculean man. Ooh, she just keeps having these bastard children. Can you cut it out, please? I don't know if I can host you at my court. I can literally make her murder her own lover. I'm going to switch my spymaster to support schemes. We are seriously committing to getting rid of this guy. He's a bad influence on my daughter. He's interrupting my breeding program, too. I can't have her in love with you and having all these bastard children. By Jesus, are you even my father anymore? The very sight of you enrages me these days, snaps Clementia. This argument is fairly typical of our interactions as of late. Disagreements over plans and practices abounding, turns of phrase taken in the worst way, and the slightest of disputes becoming hours-long arguments. Whatever common ground I'd hoped to build by involving her with this scheme seems utterly ruined. I'm going to pardon my children who are plotting to kill my other children. They're not going to succeed. Did you just kill? I saw nothing. By God, there's been a murder. Who would wish death upon our amicable Philippe? And why were they so brutal? My court physician Zadok continues. Yes, indeed. Who would ever dream of doing something like this to poor, innocent Philippe? You're not fooling anybody. Clementia, this is your punishment. You are going to be one of the assassins in the murder scheme against your lover. You want to violate my breeding program? You want to go against me? Then you face consequences. Hey, like, I've made sacrifices to keep you in my court. There will be consequences, and this is the consequence. Unfortunately, dude, you fucked around with the Martins. You know, and I know it was you, man. Look at this intrigue. You know, I know it was you. You snuck your way in here, and now we have some bastard children, and one of them died. She's not breeding with the person that I want her to be breeding with. She's not reproducing with this lunatic. But he's intelligent. See, look at the offspring they produced. I want more of this. Someone is plotting to kill my heir. Well, they're not going to succeed. Ooh. My agents have succeeded in murdering Count Udes. A thorn in my side no longer, thank God. Clementia's hireling executed our plan perfectly. In the dead of night, the woman snuck through a gap scouted in the roaming patrols, let herself into our quarry's chambers with a stolen key, and brought Ude's wretched existence to a wet, gurgling end. I have covered my tracks well, and if anyone suspects me of being behind the attack, then they do not dare say it aloud. Now you can go back to your husband. She's taken this out on me. Yeah, that probably stressed her out, but at least we lose some stress. Okay, my daughter is scheming. My daughter is scheming against my heir? Why? Why are you, like, being such a pariah? Like, why are you doing this shit? I mean, now that we've discovered it shouldn't come to fruition, but gee, can you, like, calm down? You're really taking it out on me, and after I made you murder your lover. I mean, that's on you, though. I'm not I am an adulterer. That is coming from someone who did cheat on their spouse. Come on. Dude, alright. Wherever I go, my daughter-in-law, Bizina, is sure to follow. That look in her eyes, the words on her lips, I know exactly what she is after. All of you, leave me alone, please. Yeah, at this rate, I don't think England's gonna last long. 12,000 troops is crazy. My other daughter's plotting to kill my son. My wife? What is going on in the court? Guys, like, what's going on? I want to uphold justice, but it's like all of my close family. I knew that getting older would mean doing everything slower, but I didn't think it would all come to a halt until my death. Lately, I feel a constant malaise, and everything takes more effort than before. I'm worried that if I lie down, I might not be able to get up again. There is no doubt that my time is running out. I feel like I can do naught but await death's sweet embrace to claim me. As I pace towards my throne, I overhear my knight Hildebert proclaiming something to my wife, Hildegard. That scrumptious woman who charms me so, where, oh where, did that woman go? Although perhaps she'll break my heart yet, but for this woman, I'll take that bet. Is he reciting romantic poetry to my wife? I mean, we're both old, I don't really care that much, so let that wonderful poetry echo through the halls. And it does give benefits, so might as well. All of my kids are plotting against my heir. Alright, I'm pardoning all of you, but, this is not me being okay with this. You might be an emperor, Louis, but you are a loathsome Okay, what is going on? All my daughters are angry at me. They're trying to murder my heir. There's all this strife within the family. Like, this is ridiculous. What is provoking this? A traveler from a faraway land is visiting me today. It appears my reputation precedes me, because after exchanging pleasantries with the traveler, he said jokingly, I heard about you and your honeyed words. Is that so? Am I a great speaker? Another granddaughter needs to be married off? and we'll marry them off ASAP to get as much children as we can. As the sun is starting to set, I peer out over the farmlands from my quarters at Ile-de-France. In the distance, a group of travelers are traversing the grassy land splayed out ahead of them. When I look closer, I realize the leader of the group is none other than Jarl Olafur and his entourage. Casually studying their movement, I instinctively look up when a swarm of riders rapidly approach the peaceful group. As the riders get closer, they start to raise their weapons. The travelers are clearly about to be assaulted on my land. The bandits don't know what hit them. I lead our finest warriors into battle outside Ile-de-France, and we cut through the group like butter on a hot summer's day. Jarl Olafur watches us closely as we clean up the scoundrels, then softens a bit, as it is clear that we are friendly. When the assailants are finally sent on the run, I circle back towards Olafur, who now seems more comfortable with our presence. "My friend, thank you for assisting us in our time of need," he says, beaming at me. We just reached the new cultural era, and I could prioritize military, but I think I'm going to do civic. We'll go with coinage. Now this is when our breeding program starts to really come to fruition. Yes, there is going to be inbreeding, and that's because our granddaughter here has 2 good congenital traits. This will reinforce his, and hopefully their offspring will have the beautiful trait, and they'll also inherit this. I could have selected someone from a different trait family, but you can see she already has a trait from a different trait family. And she has another trait which will reinforce this one, so this is the better option. There's a small chance that their children will be inbred. I wouldn't do this if this was 10% or higher. Because this is lower than 10%, and this decision is going to reinforce the bloodline, yeah, that's what we're going to do. My first great-grandchild, and yeah, she inherited 2 traits. Centralization will help with development growth in our capital, which is why I'm going down this tree right now. Oh boy, what a surprise. It was Sarah all along. Did we foil the scheme? Yep. Welcome to the realm, guys. Thanks for the dissolution war. Those are interesting new borders. Let's create the Kingdom of Italy. We can now influence the personality of our heir's heir. And that's got to be diligent. Another grandchild have come of age. So you're going to marry your cousin, and hopefully they'll have good offspring. Why must I always do everything myself? How can I be expected to manage the affairs of the Holy Roman Empire when one half of my court is incapable of following my orders, and the other half doesn't even understand them? I mean, King Arnulf is doing pretty well. East Francia, Bavaria, Bohemia. Oh, my twin sons are now friends. It looks like they made up from that whole murder scheme, although Sarah has become his nemesis. We're pretty rich. We got a decent amount of money. I'm going to save about 1,000 for grand weddings, and then once we get up to 2,000, I can comfortably spend it, and I might start building up my realm. So this is the first person in our dynasty who we can marry off who has 2 good traits already. So he's missing a physique trait, so we're going to try and find that. Now, I could marry him off to his cousin, and that would be a good marriage. She has 2 good traits, but he already has traits from those family. And for the breeding program, I'm not really counting those as much as the traits that he doesn't have that we need to introduce into the bloodline. As you can see, his offspring could potentially inherit all 3 of these, so that's what I'm going to do. So these cousins have had a child, and you can see, yeah, the trait has been reinforced. My spy master has come to me with grave news. Oh, someone's plotting against my granddaughter. Yeah, my daughter is still mad about that. I mean, yeah. There's still this one little county right here that hasn't been conquered yet. But, my, look at this. Okay, so House Wessex is still around, but they are a vassal. Following the discovery of Greenland by Thjolstolfr, there is now talk about lands that lie even further west. Based on reports from sailors blown off course, however, Greenland is already a great distance from the west of the world. So few would want to take the risk and travel that far across the sea, until now. News is traveling across the northern seas about an expedition sponsored by Jarl Rognvaldr to explore the western seas to see if there are lands beyond even Greenland. The expedition will be led by a certain adventurer by the name of Kari. What most people are doubting is not whether anything can be found, but whether such lands, if they exist, will be worth settling. Of course, there's only one way to find out. What? You're scheming against your wife? Like, what is happening in the court? Murder? Yikes. Sick of her. Holy shit. In the dead of night at our camp near Boulogne, I step out quietly. What was that sound? That's when I see it. My knight Siegfried silently draws closer to my wife, who is sleeping in the open fields. With a heavy stone? Are you kidding me, dude? You murdered my wife? Oh, man. And my grandson, my heir's heir, has come of age. And I won't marry him off, though. Not until he's 21, I think. The brave adventurer Kari and his crew have returned from their expedition to explore the western seas, confirming rumors about lands to the west of Greenland. According to reports, they discovered 3 new lands. The first land they passed through, which they named Helluland, is dominated by flat stones. The second land, which they named Markland, is full of mighty forest and white, sandy beaches. The third land, which they named Vinland, is filled with grapes and fertile meadows, which could be settled one day, if it wasn't so far from Europe and lacking in other valuable resources. Perhaps some overly ambitious fool will attempt, and likely fail, to permanently settle this Vinland. But more sensible leaders might see value in exploring these lands, particularly Helluland and Markland, to find local allies or goods to trade. Who knows what will happen next in the world of the North Atlantic. You might be an emperor, Louis, but you are also a loathsome fiend. The unprovoked anger expressed by my daughter, Dorothy, came as a complete surprise. She has been under a lot of stress lately, but when asked to explain herself, she only doubled down on the insults. Well, now we're rivals. Why is everyone so stressed? What's going on in the court? We do have the ability to adopt a centralized administration, but for this playthrough, I'm not going to play as this. I'd rather do a feudal empire. If you guys want to see a different form of government, then just let me know, but for now, it's going to be feudal. I've never played as an administrative government and not really familiar with how it works, but maybe in a future playthrough we'll do this. But for now, we're just going to be feudal. Why is there 3 schemes to murder Bizina? Look at those sideburns. It's like medieval Elvis. Like, jeez. How could you do this to Stephanie? If I have sinned, why did you not punish me instead? She was blameless, my perfect daughter. Life had so much more in store for her. She died of stress. She was my youngest daughter. I can feel it in my very bones. Death will come for me soon. Like an old friend, he is patiently waiting to receive me. I will be dead within a year. Really, man, are you going to let loose now? I know you haven't been married for a while, and it's your last year of being alive, but, no, let's get out of there. As the renown of my dynasty grows, familiarity with the glorious Martin sigil spreads too. My family's device is now recognized in the regional circles of nobility, counted highly amongst the prominent French bloodlines, as it should be. Oh! And I'm dead. Emperor Louis I of the Holy Roman Empire has found peace in Christ's embrace at 78 years of age. He died of old age, a hollowed shell of his former self. He had long lost his wits by the time of his final passing. Emperor Louis ascends to the throne, courageous and willing to rush to action. Many hope that Louis's bravery will not see the realm fall into reckless ruin. King Antoninus gets the kingdom of Burgundy and the kingdom of Frisia, and King Hans gets the kingdom of Lotharingia and the kingdom of Brittany. As Louis the Great, we reigned for 63 years. He died on the 23rd of August, 929. He was a legendary figure and a paragon of virtue. And he only fought in one war, which I'm pretty sure was the Peasant Revolt. So, what is this border gore right here? Oh my god. I am plotting to murder Sarah. Alright, let's abandon this scheme. Yikes, everyone's in on it. Like, oh my god, okay. Let's abandon this scheme. I'm not a murderer. As my siblings and I mourn my late father, Emperor Louis I, we busy ourselves with the division of his lands. Holy Roman Empire fell to me, Burgundy to Antoninus, Lotharingia to Hans, but what of my contended sister, Magdalena? Empty-handed, she watched the transitions of power from the sidelines. No ceremonies for her, only oaths to others. Noble blood and the sword at her side are her only birthright. Let's take a look at the descendants of Louis I. Louis had 9 children, the first of those being his daughter Magdalena, who also had 5 children, the first of those being Peyronel, who had 5 children, Magdalena, Valorin, Peyronel, Yves, and Mathilde. Magdalena had a second daughter, Hildegard, who had 2 children, Antoine and Eleanor. Her third child was her son, Rogan, who had a daughter, Blanche. Her fourth child, Louis, had a son, Fabrice. She had a fifth child, her son, Fulk. Louis I had twin sons, the first of those being his heir, Louis II, who had 4 children. A daughter, Jeanne, who had 2 children herself, Berthe and Antoninus. His second child was his daughter, Bourgogne, who had 4 children, Sarrasine, Louis, Eleanor, and Erard. His third child, his daughter Élodie, had 2 children, Melisande and Élodie, and his fourth child was his son Louis. The second of the twins, Antoninus, had 4 children. His first child, his son, Élie, had 2 children, Berthe and Antoninus. His second son, Louis, had 2 children, Melisande and Élodie. He had a third son, Alphonse, and a daughter, Isabelle. Louis's fourth child was his second daughter, Sarah, who had 4 children herself. Her first daughter, Sarah, had 2 children, Bohemond and Fabrice. Her second child, Louis, had 4 children, Sarrasine, Louis, Eleanor, and Erard. Her third child was her son, Robert, who had a daughter, Hildegard, and she had a fourth child, Gilbert. Louis's fifth child was his daughter, Dorothy, who had 2 children, Hildegard, who had a daughter named Mathilde, and her second child was her daughter, Berthe. Louis's sixth child was his daughter, Elizabeth, who had 3 children, Hildegard, who had a son, Fabrice, her second child, Louis, and her third child, Beatrix. Louis's seventh child was his daughter Clementia, who had 6 children. Her first child was named Hildegard, who had a daughter named Hildegard. She had 2 illegitimate children, Bertrand and Onfroy. Her fourth child was named Ermengarde. She had another daughter named Clementia and another one named Marguerite. Louis's 8th child was his third son Hans, who had 3 children. Marthe, his daughter, who had 2 children, Adelmode and Yves. He had a son named Renaud and another son named Hans. Louis's 9th child, his youngest daughter, who unfortunately died young, had 4 children, Hildegard, Thierry, Arnaud, and Giselle. These are the living descendants of Louis at the time of his death, and of course, as time goes on, they will have many more children. Alright, let's take a look at the history so far. Martin Rohan came from a family of local French nobility. He had Frankish and Gaulish heritage. Not much is known about him. It is claimed by some that he is a descendant of Vercingetorix, although this is unsubstantiated. He was known as Martin the Brave due to his victories as a military commander and his zealous opposition to certain authority figures. In 852, the disaffected vassals of Charles the Bald decided to oust him from power, but had no replacement. Power was shared by a few administrators. One of them was Martin, as he was favored due to his military service. By 859, however, Martin was able to consolidate his power, taking advantage of well-treatment and loyalty of the nobility. Martin reigned as the sitting king of West Francia. Because of the unstable time, most of his reign was spent attempting to please the nobility and fighting off Norse invaders. He died in 866, the cause was unknown, and he was believed to be in his 50s. It is known he had a few daughters, and Louis, believed to be his only son. Louis was 16 when he took the throne. Louis, born 27th of December 850, was a shrewd man. He was known to have spent most of his upbringing reading and studying. He had an obsession with books, his personality was odd, and he could be strange or socially awkward. He may have been autistic. He was described as being strikingly tall, no more than 6'7", which was his most distinctive feature. His father was believed to have been tall as well, around 6'4". Louis was described as having a straight brow and nose, red hair, bright blue eyes, and a broad, sturdy build. When he could grow facial hair, he sported a prominent mustache, believed to be imitating the fashion of the Carlings. Louis wasn't known to have a super-quick mind, but he was a very well-educated man, and his intellect came from a certain type of intelligence or obsession that his peers lacked. He was well-read and had a diligent work ethic. He was also zealous and strong in his Catholic beliefs. Louis had a strong personality, but sometimes his eccentricity threw him off, and he was prone to irrational behavior. Some believed he was borderline insane. Louis's parents were Martin and Sarah, and I'll work on a family tree later, when I have time. Ethnically, he was 100% French. He was diligent, zealous, and eccentric, and he followed the learning lifestyle. He was an erudite oracle, and he was shrewd. Louis didn't follow noble conventions and didn't care for a woman of high nobility. Likely motivated by his horniness, he sent out a request for the most beautiful woman in the realm. Hildegard, the peasant daughter of a local administrator, was found, and like the plot of a Disney movie, the two fell madly in love. She was a generous woman, known for her temperance, but had a hard time trusting the conviction of others. She was 100% French. She was generous, temperate, and cynical. Louis and Hildegard had 9 children together. 6 daughters, twin sons, and another son. All of their children inherited Hildegard's beauty to some extent, Louis and Hans being the most striking. Magdalena less so, though she was the most intelligent. Most of their children were tall like Louis, except Clementia and Stephanie. And here are the children. Louis's reign was a time of relative stability. He was competent and wise, likely drawing from his education, and the realm thrived under his diligence. Even the Northmen hesitated to invade. Around this time, the Norse had discovered Greenland and Vinland. Louis encouraged the ivory trade and the development of his domain. The chaos of the nearby realms enticed many nobles to swear fealty to Louis, growing the realm. Many called Louis the Worthy. On the 13th of September, 896, Louis declared himself the Emperor of Francia. The conquest of Brittany, 873 AD. Norse leader Heljarskin led a victorious conquest of the Kingdom of Brittany, ousting the Catholic nobility. Many objected to his rule, and he was known as the Stranger. Eventually his grandson Olafur would take power, and despite his adherence to his pagan ways, he swore fealty to Louis. The impotent coup of 890 AD. Some of Louis's vassals were dissatisfied with his reign. Duke Garcia organized nobles against Louis. Duke Ramnulf later sold him out, and the coup embarrassingly flopped. Garcia showed up in Louis's court, and after injuring another noble, he charged Louis, but pitifully gave up and attempted suicide. Louis intervened to blind him, imprison him, and gave him a formal execution. The failed peasant revolt of 892 AD. Some of the peasants in Louis's domain objected to his economic policy, as they felt his taxes were unfair. The unrest gave way to a peasant revolt led by a man named Raimbault de Sancerre, a peasant hero to some, but it was more likely he was an opportunistic agitator, motivated by personal grievances instead of the needs of the peasants. He led hundreds of people to their deaths, as his army of enraged commoners stood no chance against the retinue of Louis. Louis had Raimbault executed. Weirdly, this was the only war Louis had been involved in. The affair of 896 AD. King Karlman of Bavaria set out to conquer new lands for the Karlings, but died in 880. He was succeeded by his son Arnulf, who died less than a year later. They were both prominent alcoholics. It is believed they both drank themselves to death. Arnulf's daughter, Gertrude, became queen, and in 896 began seeing Louis in secret. The adulterous scandal was discovered, leading to controversy among the nobles, and Louis's marriage to destabilize. Gertrude died of health complications, aged 42. She had a son with her husband, King Engelbert of East Francia, who was also her uncle. Their son Arnulf inherited both realms after his parents' passing, reuniting Karling lands and then reconquering Bohemia. The conquest of the papacy, 896 AD. Duke Lambert of Spoleto ascended as a mighty conqueror. He took lands in Italy and the Balkans, establishing the kingdoms of Croatia and Romagna. Lambert waged war with Pope Callistus II and seized Rome on the 19th of September 896. Pope Callistus regained independence after Lambert's death. The new Roman Emperor, 909 AD. After seeking indulgences from the Pope, Louis regained the favor of Pope Callistus II, who forgave his affair. His zealotry and commitment to Catholicism made him a suitable candidate for emperor. After Charlemagne's death, Europe was in need of a new order. On the 12th of August 909, Louis was crowned in Rome by Pope Callistus, just as Charlemagne had been. Emperor Louis the Great began his reign as the Holy Roman Emperor. With the Holy Roman Empire established, Louis absorbed Brittany and the shattered northern Italy into his realm. The scandal of 909 AD. The realm may have been stable under the new Holy Roman Emperor, but internal problems became an issue. Louis's daughter Clementia was seduced by Count Eudes II, beginning a scandalous affair that resulted in 2 bastard children. Louis was angered by this betrayal as it gave his court a bad reputation, and Clementia was neglecting the husband he chose for her. After a few years, Eudes mysteriously was murdered. Many rumors have circulated, but the culprit was never identified. The conquest of the British Isles. King Bethgelach of Alba inherited his realm from his cousin, and continued his conquest of the Isles. One by one, each realm was absorbed, and Bethgelach declared himself Emperor of Alba. King Alfred of England had previously died of plague, and his sons, who were occupied with gathering his shattered realm, found themselves subjugated by High King Bethgelach. Alfred's son Wolfmire continued his realm as King of England under his new liege. The end of Louis's reign. Louis proved his worth as a competent ruler, and had re-established much-needed order in the region since Charlemagne's death. This time, the Carlings were out and the Martins were in. His family wasn't handling things well, and his daughters were notoriously involved with court drama. Internal strife in the family increased, and rivalries led to schemes, further increasing stress and paranoia among Louis's family and courtiers. Louis was said to have lost himself in his final years. A knight of his retinue murdered his wife Hildegard, and although his marriage was less passionate in its final years, this took a toll on him. It got worse when his youngest daughter Clementia died young, aged 32. Louis died of old age soon after, on the 23rd of August, 929, after reigning for almost 63 years. After Louis had died, Magdalena watched as her brothers inherited the realm. The drama and strife in the family in the years before then increased her disaffection. She was the intelligent one after all, and was now committed to her independence. No longer under the pressure of her father, she was able to leave. With her 5 children and many grandchildren, she established the French Reivers, an adventure party. Louis II had much in common with his father, and also had a scholarly focus. The fearless and diligent man was ready to take on the title as Roman Emperor in the West. He inherited the Holy Roman Empire, the kingdoms of France and Italy, and all of Louis's domain. He was coronated shortly after Louis's death. Antoninus, the twin of Louis II, got the lesser share, but still a sizable realm. He inherited the kingdoms of Burgundy and Frisia. Antoninus was a paranoid and ambitious man, which may cause problems between him and his liege. However, after the drama between the family, the twins became friends, so he may not be such a stubborn vassal to Louis II. Antoninus had more of a military focus, and may be suited as a commander. The youngest son, Hans, inherited the kingdoms of Lothringia and Brittany. He was diligent like his father, but was more generous and temperate. He was content with his relatively small inheritance, but still had grievances with Louis II after the family drama. Hans had a diplomacy focus. And that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little project. Hopefully I can get the next episode out by next week, as these videos do take a lot of time to make. If you like what you see, please consider supporting the channel, and until next time, take care.